Hello and welcome to A Life in a Day with my special guest, Dave. Welcome, Dave.
Hey.
Hey. Now, Dave works for the local authority in a coaching role, and he also has his own business as a life coach, Focused Forward. It's called www.focusforward.com. Not only that, but Dave is a bit of an informal walking coach too. He has recently walked the 100 kilometers Cotswold walk. He has, as his t-shirt will show, recently done the Chilterns 50 kilometer challenge. And he has also achieved a new accolade as the UK record holder for doing the 1 million steps, that's 500 miles, in only 37 days. And to put that in perspective, I'm doing the same challenge, 1 million steps. And so far, despite being on target every day, I am on 437,000 steps. So not quite halfway. But Dave has inspired me to put a bit more effort in. So plainly, Dave, you are a winner. Now, we first met online, but then we met face to face in the darkness of the shadow of Pen y Fan, Wales' highest mountain. And you were practicing for your Cotswold 100 kilometer walk. And we walked up there. I was doing it for the first time. You were on like your 5th or 6th consecutive ascent. So here's the thing. When you get your mind set on something, not much holds you back. I don't expect I'm the first person to observe this. So you are determined, focused, goal-driven, organized, and you must be a great planner to do all this. So here's the thing. What I'm interested in is that as a person with dyslexia and or other neurodiverse conditions, how does that fit in with all this stuff?
Luck, I would say. I am in some ways a good planner, but other ways I'm horrendous. I have to keep asking my wife every morning who is doing the school run today, and she will tell me time and time again, I told you already, it's you. So one of the ways of me getting over the fact that I am a bad planner is to keep repeating stuff so it goes into my mind, and just keep repeating it. Stuff that I enjoy doing, there's no problem. I can remember that because that's my goal. That's what I want to do. With stuff that I don't like doing, like sometimes booking in clients at 7 o'clock at night, not that I don't like meeting clients, I have to write it down. It has to be written down. And in various places. So I make great use of Outlook, and I make great use of a calendar, a family planning calendar downstairs, which my wife will update regularly. My wife will also text me dates and reminders, but there are quite a lot of occasions I double book. But planning and lists are the big main thing. Some of the lists, unfortunately, I can't even read and I still forget. But being quite creative, I always get a way around the fact that I've missed an appointment. And one thing that I really, really like to do is I always like to double up things. So in my mind, if I can see in my mind meeting a client, I will also vision the journey on the way to meet the client. Can I slot someone else in to that particular meeting or on the way back? So it's a bit like planning a route. So I plan my route for the week.
That is really interesting, isn't it? That bit about when it's something that means a lot to you, it's easy to remember it.
Yeah.
And I guess that what that means for stuff that is important to do is that, well, maybe you can tell me this, is it possible to try and connect things that may be less exciting to a kind of sense of a greater purpose to give it more value, to make it more memorable?
100%. So 100%. Everything has to be a reward. Everything I do that I hate doing, there has to be a reward at the end of it. Whether that reward is a cup of coffee, a packet of crisps, a Mars bar that I'm looking forward to, being able to finish half an hour earlier to do something, being able to hand over a file to my boss and receive a smile because it's all in order. There has to be a reward. Now, I'm not saying that I'm like materialistic and I have to have £1,000 every time I do something. Honestly, subconsciously, I think, no, this is the reason why I think it works. So when I was younger, I hated school and I really struggled in school, and everything that I was chosen for, I was put to, well, I wasn't chosen, I was put to the back of the class. And it was, you're stupid, you're silly, you can't achieve. And everything I'd done, no matter how hard I worked at it, it was a negative result. So what I've learned is actually the positive affirmation, well done, you've done this, actually just really, really inspires me to do the next piece of work really well. So even down to my paperwork in work, the fact that my boss will acknowledge that she can see a difference between this week's paperwork and last month's paperwork is really what keeps me going. That's the reward in itself. So I have to do notes for my clients. I really, really hate that. But what I say to myself now, because I love coffee, is until you've written them notes up, you're not allowed a cup of coffee. So I meet my client, I write the notes up, and I have a cup of coffee. It's a little reward. So
it's amazing how simple it sounds, isn't it? And how effective it is. But I guess the key thing is a combination of self-awareness, isn't it? Knowing what works for you, and self-discipline.
Yeah.
And because I talk to a lot of people and I hear the thing about rewards all the time, so much so that I have instituted the reward system in this house myself. And we have stickers regularly given out to people for doing a good job, to myself. And it's funny, isn't it? And because we think, oh, it's quite a childish thing. But the reason why we use these rewards for children is that they are notoriously hard to kind of control, is it, or to get to do what you want to do. So you have to have an effective strategy. Well, if it works for them, it's going to work for us too.
Yeah. Also, like having a tick list is like your old-fashioned reward chart. So the more ticks you've got on that, that's it's like just something subconsciously is going, yeah, well done, you've done it, and you're ticking off all the time. So sometimes I do cheat on my tick list. Sometimes when I do my tick list in the morning, I will put stuff on there that I know I've already completed, just so I can add a couple of ticks on it. But it feels good, and I suppose that's what it's about. It's about getting over the barrier. For me, that dyslexia is not because I'm stupid or I can't do it. It's how it's a thing that has taught me how to do something differently to someone.
Yeah, and it obviously works, doesn't it? Because you get all this stuff done, and you've done loads of charity stuff in the past, haven't you? So it shows that, doesn't it? In the right circumstances, with creative thinking, you can get around the problems. But the reading writing thing is a nuisance, isn't it? I think for a lot of people, because
it's a pain in the bum. Even, when you're writing yourself and you can't read your own writing, or you're trying to look for something up on the internet and you can't spell that word, and then you interrupt someone and you go, what, how do you spell that word, blah de blah. It's a nuisance, it's a pain. I've got to the stage, luckily I've got some software on my computer, but I found that I used to write sheds and shed loads of paperwork simply because I couldn't put in one word.
Yeah.
So I'd end up doing double the amount of work as opposed to writing 2 sentences. So
I hear that quite a lot. Or you just you got slightly strangled and compressed then. But yeah, I do hear that a lot. This is one of the things with dyslexia, isn't it? That it's so frustrating. Is the reading takes longer, and the writing takes longer because if you can't find the right words, and you have to go, as you say, whole new paragraphs to try and say what you mean. So that takes forever. Plus, that gives you a whole lot more that you've got to check and recheck and check again before you pass it on, because we know how people are particular about spellings, rightly or wrongly, and it's quite tiring as well. And so that takes time away, doesn't it, from the joyful part of work, which often is not the admin, everything except. So it is hugely frustrating, but there is software, isn't there, which helps a bit. And I suppose every little counts.
Yeah, so my favorite tool at the moment, and there are other applications available, is Siri, because I can simply ask Siri how I spell a certain word and it will come up with that word, which is great. And even though I speak dyslexic sometimes, there's certain words I can't say, Siri seems to pick that up. So that's really helpful. That's a helpful little tool. You can actually whisper to Siri as well. So if you're in a crowded office, you can whisper and he or she will pick up that as well. And the word is there visually and it spells it out. It's an excellent little tool. I suppose the hard thing is getting into the habit of using these tools.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what I hear from other people is that when you get new software to use, often you're the only person who's going to use that, if it's like dictation or text to speech software. So you've got to learn how to use it. You haven't got anybody you can ask about to remind yourself. If you're already busy and snowed under with stuff, it's another job to do. So
yeah.
When do what do you sacrifice? Do you not do part of your job while you learn this stuff? Will you be able to concentrate? So it's really tricky, isn't it, to get the balance? And I guess you have to persevere. It's like a long walk, perhaps.
It's very much like a long walk, but there are, in my mind, the priority is to, if someone has been given this software or, able to buy it and actually sacrifice even half a day's work to program it, because it will move you on leaps and bounds. It is amazing. It's amazing technology, and getting to know all them shortcut keys and things really helpful. And again, sort of being a visual learner, picturing stuff in your mind. So, I quite often use Control Alt and V and Control Alt and C for copy and pasting, and I just see that, I see it as a picture rather than as the letters on the keypad. So, and again, touch typing, that comes with habit, and that's the habit you want to instill in your brain of getting to use the software as it was. So yeah, but it's worth sacrificing time to save later. It's like investing some money in the bank.
It is, isn't it? And it's it's building up those skills, isn't it, so that it all runs smoothly. It becomes second nature, doesn't it? I guess it's like walking long distances, isn't it? It's hard to do at first, but you've got to build up to it, and then it's easier to do it, because it's not so daunting, isn't it? For me, the prospect of walking 100 kilometers would, in one go, in 24 hours, would be a bit daunting. But I know from your example that by building up to it, it's possibly possible for someone even with my ancient knees. So
possible for everyone.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You just got to find
Yeah.
the way, isn't it? It's about how to do these things.
Yeah. I think mindset, honestly, I'm a big believer in mindset. It's with long distance walking, with spelling, reading, writing, it's mindset. And if you've got the right mindset and you've got that, instead of saying, oh, if and what or when, it's I can and I will. The other stuff we work out in between, but I can and I will. And I'm not a great reader, but I know that in some way that I can and I will do it and I will get it read. It might take me twice as long as someone else. But again, the other thing I suppose I've really learned is stop comparing yourself to normal people. Because if we keep comparing ourselves to normal people, we're never going to get anywhere. In fact, we spend so much time comparing ourselves that we wasted the time trying to get on with the skills and qualities that we've already got. So
yeah, and I think you're comparing the wrong things, aren't you? Because the temptation is to focus on that reading, writing, those which are fairly simple, straightforward things for people who don't have dyslexia. And it'd be much more interesting to compare people on their creativity and problem solving things. But that is so hard to measure. That's why we don't do it. You can measure spelling easily.
Yeah.
As we know, schools do it all the time. And no, that's a really interesting point. But going back to what you said earlier as well about you have a whiteboard with what's going on in the week. Whose idea was that in your household? Where did that come from?
I think it's the fact that I kept reminding my wife that I was dyslexic, and it popped up that I would have a whiteboard, and she wasn't too impressed with the idea of having the whiteboard because we just redecorated, and she said that wouldn't be so good. So we got like a family planner
right
now. So I do in my office in work, I have a whiteboard and I put things on there, but at home it's like a family planner. So what I'm doing every day for a month, and because so for me, like I got a few events booked up for the coming weekends, but if I just say it out loud, I can't see it. I have to see it.
Right.
It's odd. I have to see it. But so my wife will be able to go Monday morning. I go, what's on this week? She go, I told you 50 times. And then she will reel off the 20 activities that the whole house is doing for the week. And after she's done that, and then I will say, so what's happening tonight then?
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to know what's going on in the week, So my wife go, what have you got on today? I go, don't really know. I haven't looked at my calendar yet. So, but then I know at the end of the month I've got a nice walk to do, and I know that, and that's in my mind.
It's the reason I ask is that someone told me the other day that they have a couple of they got a great big fridge in their kitchen. They've got a couple of magnetic whiteboards on there, and and it's the same, it's essentially a family planner because they have, there's two of them, they've got 3 kids. So there's people doing different things all the time, and they've got their shopping list on there. So it helps them keep track of what everybody's doing. And so they trained up, the children are fairly grown up, I think teenagers and above. So they've been trained to, if they finish up, the milk or whatever, right on the shopping list, and they have their own kind of stuff that they like as well. So if it doesn't go on the shopping list, then they have to go without the following week. So they learn pretty sharpish how it works. And it struck me, it's such a great idea because the fridge everybody pretty much goes to or goes past. So it's a focal point, isn't it? And that you were drawn to several times a day. And you can get it out of your head on there, then everybody can see it. Everybody has a degree of responsibility, don't they, for remembering or contributing to it. So it is a genius thing to do. So simple again, but it's effective, isn't it? Because you haven't got to worry about remembering stuff. It's out. You can just look it up, and you can take a picture with your phone when you leave the house.
To the shop.
Yeah, the shopping list. So
and what it goes back down to again is a reward for putting your stuff on the list, because it is a reward, isn't it? That you have your milk, you have your yogurt, you have your nice things. Honestly, I think our brains are wired to work better if we're getting something for it.
Yeah. And going back to another thing that you said earlier about your tick list, and sometimes you put things on there and tick off the simple, straightforward things. I think that is scientifically supported as a thing. It's called success momentum, isn't it? If you get a few small things that go well, like, you know, getting up, getting out of bed, getting dressed, that thinking of them in that positive way of things that are going well, get some momentum rolling, and you get downstairs and think, well, things are going okay today. And once you're in that positive mindset, then that is brilliant.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this last thing. Where did then your interest in kind of personal development and self-awareness come from?
Where did that come from? I suppose it's really difficult to pin down, really. So a number of years ago, I changed my career from being a chef to a scaffolder, from a scaffolder to a youth worker, because I felt that I could change the world for young people. And through that, then, you know, development of people, I've become interested in that, and their lack of, I suppose, outside influences and compassion that people had for their development. And then over the last 3 to 4 years has really become my time, where I found it really important to look after myself, my mental well-being, and my development. And and by doing my own and setting my own goals, I'm able to sort of say to my clients and say, well, do you know, I know this works because I do it myself, not because I've read it in a book or anything. In fact, if I'd read it in a book, I'd still be reading the same book I started 10 years ago. So we wouldn't be getting anywhere. So everything I do really is from, yes, I use YouTube clips, which are quite good, TED Talks, things like that, to learn stuff. But a lot of it is life experience and the way I can see situations where other people might not be able to see them. Again, I believe, really honestly, I believe that's a gift of my dyslexia. So my self-development was the question, wasn't it? I went off on a tangent there.
Only mildly.
I was aware of that. I could see myself going over the top of the mountain when I haven't even gone round it yet. So my self-development come when I challenged some of my clients to set goals, and they would find it really, really difficult. And in January, I decided I would try and challenge all of my colleagues to write 21 goals down for the year 2021. And one of my goals was to walk 21 kilometers a week for 21 weeks, 3 kilometers a day. And yeah, I suppose that's where I've started in the last sort of since January. And obviously I met yourself in work, through some coaching and that, and I was able to question stuff there and try and organize my life inside admin and try and put my work inside a box where I can sort of leave it at the door, get on with my stuff. I've answered loads of questions, but I'm not really sure I've answered the right question.
Well, I think it's a tricky question, isn't it? Where does
Yeah.
motivation come from? So it's sorry for being unfair, but
No.
no, I think what you're kind of saying is that it comes from lots of different places, doesn't it? And what's interesting is that you obviously see the value of leading by example, and the lack of value of being told something and expecting it, having to take it on trust. Now, because it may or may not work out. So that leading by example is fascinating, because you are doing it, aren't you, with all that walking as well. And I know that it's not just about walking, is it? It's about mental health.
I was going to say, do you know, my goal is not about walking. It's not about walking. I love walking, right? I've really got back into it. I haven't done it for about 12 years. Since January, really got back into it. But it's more than walking. This is about showing people, with the right mindset, with determination, any goal is possible. Obviously, I'm never going to be an astronaut and fly to Mars, but actually, could I somehow connect, if that was my goal and ambition, could I still connect with that journey somewhere? So it's about being on the journey. So perhaps I could, become a blog writer or something about people traveling to Mars, and things like that. So, yeah. So my journey is honestly, so little story. When I'd done my 50k walk last week, I remember now I've walked 2,000 miles this year,
right,
which in myself is quite amazing. When I finished the 50k walk, which I cried at the finish line, and the reason I cried is because I knew at that point that actually I could definitely demonstrate to other people mindset is a big thing, because I'm not the fittest of guys at all. My legs walk well, but my mind carries them. And it was just an amazing feeling that that I can talk to my clients about. And again, although I say this is for me a lot, it's more for other people and helping them get through, and maybe they haven't had some of their things in life, the opportunities that they should have had. We can all live in a world of, oh yes, my teachers all call me stupid, silly, oh this happened to me, that happened to me, blah blah. Do you know what? We can't change anything in the past, but what we can do is make our future a better place for us to live in. I'm the center of my story. No one else will ever be the center of my story. Not my wife, not my children, not my favorite pet. They might be second, but my story is all about me. So how can I make my starring role the best star? And with, I'd just say, like, I want to just say, like, on one of your Facebook posts, I think someone, or you even posed the question of, when do you tell your boss about having dyslexia? I hid having dyslexia from my bosses for a number of years, and actually now everyone knows I got dyslexia. Even my clients know I got dyslexia, because do you know what? If they're not accepting of my dyslexia, they're not accepting of me, and they're not good enough for me to be working for them. So I think, we just have to be open and honest with, I know I'm changing it a little bit because I tend to do that, but I just want to get this, if there's one message I would say about having any neurodiversity element, would you say that was the word? or
Yeah, why not?
thing or gift, whatever you want to call it. Be open and honest and embrace it. Really embrace it. You know, make the most of it.
Well, Dave, gotta say, have to finish on that note. It's so positive because not only have you uplifted us with those great thoughts and that, you know, that thing about being the center of your own story is so important, isn't it? And it's easy to forget in the hurly-burly of life that, you know, you have to, if you can take responsibility for what's going on around you, then you can make the world a better place for others as well as for yourself. And you've told us lots of great tips and ideas at the start. So you have been amazing. Thank you ever so much for sharing your life in a day. And I think there's so much stuff you've said that the people who watch this channel are going to find useful. So thank you enormously. And
thank you.
What can I say? Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this video useful, then why not take a look at this one? I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.